Good morning, Huddlers.
Good morning, Nudelberg. Daily Huddle. Thanks for joining us this morning. Love to see all of the subscribers moving over to YouTube and hitting that subscribe button. So awesome stuff. And we are here on a terrific Tuesday.
It is absolutely terrific. As you see, I am wearing a sweater. This is what is called a sweater. And it's supposed to keep me warm because currently in Atlanta, where I'm heading in the next hour, is 39 degrees.
Yeah, it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold for you there. It's going to be cold in Charlotte when I go there at the end of the week. So leaving this, 85-degree swamp that we live in because it's been raining for 2 days and the humidity is through the roof. Speaking of, I have a question for you, and I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this or not. On my calendar, it says that on November 6th, it's daylight savings time, which means the clocks move. But I thought that we voted that out. I thought we no longer do that.
I don't think it takes effect for another year.
Oh, God.
Voted it to take place, not to take place in 2023.
Got it. Okay. So we're still doing it, even though we voted it out and we're no longer going to do it.
It is fait accompli.
That is mind-blowing to me. Okay. Either way, though, all good.
Listen, the whole daylight savings thing is crazy, but Jim Barrett talks about the whole East Coast is going to get hit with some cool weather, which is really, really cool. It will get cool this week in Florida. And for those of you like me, I am tired of sweating my ass off, man.
I'm always down for some sweater weather. Always down for some sweater weather.
I've got socks on today. I got sweater. I got leather jacket. I got good shit going on. We got a new friend in the house. Ernest
Jenkins, welcome to the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Speaking of Ernest heads up the group at Cigna. So welcome to the Daily Huddle, my friend. Glad you could join us just in time for NBA season kicking off tonight. We had a great lunch with him, talked about his college basketball days, and you know what it's like when you get together with athletes, man. They just they get it. They get the spirit. So we have a really, really packed content show today. We always have a lot of pictures. It's great having Lori there, and we got into some stuff, but no fooling around today. Let's get right to Wake Up Music and right to it because we got some questions we're going to ask you guys, and we want the audience to participate.
Wake up, everybody.
I will reiterate it. LinkedIn mobile, no good this morning. So hop over, subscribe, get us on YouTube.
Hit a like, hit a comment, subscribe on YouTube, and let's get this thing rocking and rolling on the YouTube channel.
Good stuff. We see Coach Mike is on there. Scott Oglesby is on there. Deborah Robinson. I am coming to Cincinnati, be speaking there next week. So Jim Barrett's leading the charge on YouTube. So I said this morning we're going to have some real content. That was the purpose of this daily huddle for me and all of my businesses. I always would get together, spark something in the folks that I work with to get them thinking, exercise the brain. Everybody's good about running and throwing tires and doing all of this crazy workout shit. You got to work out your brain. You got to read. You got to stimulate. So I follow a guy named David Sable. David Sable's very, very dear friends of our friend Warren Struhl. David at one point was the global CEO for Young and Rubicam. He describes himself as a startup catalyst, global influencer, author, big ideas, people first always. Pretty cool moniker. I love following him. He came up with a question and wrote an article about it. Is streaming dead? And I sent you the article.
Yep.
And jump in with me here because it's crazy. The
fact that the conversation's even being had is, I think, like a detriment to us as a human society.
Right.
It's like how we're longing to like go backwards constantly, right? Like we're always looking for the technology or the fad to fail so I can go, told you so, we're never going to go back, or we're always going to go back to the way it was, which is not reality. Is streaming struggling? Well, Netflix is, sure. Have they leveled off? Have they started to take a dip? Sure. But why? Right? There's more competitors in the space. And just because a company or the idea may take a dip doesn't mean that the fundamental or the shift in behavior is bad. And the idea that saying streaming is dead or is dying is like saying that social media is dead or dying, right? Like it's insane to even think that somebody would believe that.
So I liken this conversation to people who say, oh my God, you were an overnight success. Boom, you just straight line, beeline right to the C-suite. You're head of the best entrepreneur. I mean, if you ask people, Richard Branson, you ask, Damon John, you ask Kevin O'Leary, you ask Mark Cuban, famous entrepreneurs, you ask Elon Musk, they'll tell you, man, lots of dips and valleys. So what Netflix is experiencing is unbelievable growth, then a pruning and a comeback and a rebirth, new ideas, new way to distribute it. But the conversation here is, as you and I talk all the time, is whether you're an individual or a company, content is king.
It's always been that way. And I think that's what the article really drove home is people talked about books dying and people talked about TV dying. And it's not about the device, right? All the device does is make it more readily available or allow you to consume it in the way you wish to consume it. He talks about it in the article that there's more books being sold now than before, yet there's less reading being done. All we're talking about, all streaming is the device which brings the content. So it goes back to what do you want to watch? What are you willing to do in order to get that content? When it was Sopranos, everybody wanted to watch Sopranos. You had to go to HBO to get it. That didn't mean that you wanted to consume everything on HBO or watch HBO 24/7. But the reality is that's where the content was that you wanted to get. So you had to go there to get it. So human behavior will always shift and always move to the content. And it's the same in social media, right? Like all social media did was make content easily available. You go to TikTok, you watch as many videos as you could possibly want. It's the same thing on Instagram. So, I think it's always been about the content and the value of the content and then how people want to receive it.
So there's a couple of ways I want to take this conversation. So number one is what he pointed out was the many iterations of how the content got delivered to us. iPod, CD, 8-track, cassette tapes, LPs, 45s, phonographs, relics of a time past. But even some of those are coming back now because, there's people that are into vinyl, so, true that it is about the delivery, how you choose. Like, I'm not a Kindle guy. I still prefer a book with a yellow marker. I like that. I don't really read book to book, but Jake shared something with me yesterday that was phenomenal about content. Thursday Night Football is probably the worst product ever put on TV. And the guy's point of view was, and this is the power of reels, this is not an announcer. This is not a guy that says, this is how I make my living. he produces a show where he puts out content like we do.
Yep.
And his take was Jeff Bezos knew exactly what he was doing. He wants it to be boring. He wants it to be shitty. They haven't scored a touchdown in 5 hours of programming. You know why? Because people get bored. They go to their phones. They go to Amazon and they buy shit. Like,
It's a great, yeah. But I think that drives the point home of like, look at what we're doing today, right? Like we're streaming a live show that can be consumed through video or through audio. And we're not a radio station. We're not a TV station. We became our own distribution channel for our content, for our opinions, for our thoughts, for our takes, our perspective. Everybody has the ability to do that. But if your content sucks, nobody's coming. It doesn't matter what channel you choose to put it through. You could put the greatest show in America on NBC. If it sucks, nobody's going to watch it. It doesn't matter that it's on NBC.
So he writes, and I really want everybody to read this article because it is really, really good. In bold, he puts the human need to tell and share stories drives everything. Dating back to cavemen who used to scratch, hieroglyphics on the wall of the mountain or whatever. So that the idea here is that, and we talk about this in all of our presentations, that if you're not controlling the narrative, somebody else is.
Correct.
You have the opportunity. My grandfather was a storyteller. He told me stories. I learned through stories. My dad did the same thing. I did the same thing to you generationally. The reason why I wrote a book was not for anybody else who bought it. I bought it so that Kai could have it.
I was with a storyteller yesterday. I had the opportunity to spend time with Dave Cundy yesterday, who was an absolute storyteller and comes from a line of storytellers. Obviously, his dad is a South Florida legend, but it was story after story, and it was entertaining, right? I learned so much about them and their family and their business through those stories. So to relate that to every individual is you have to tell stories with your content. It's not about just posting. It's not about just putting content out there. It's about making it a story, making it relatable, because what people like about stories is the way it makes them feel, makes them laugh, makes them cry, makes them motivated, inspires them to do something, moves them in a way emotionally. That's what the deal is when you're creating content and creating a story. It's the point.
Another new name to the Huddle, Christine Torrid. Thank you for Christine visited us when we had the EFOV people together up in Boca. So thank you for joining us this morning. The power of storytelling cannot be matched. Let's get into some motivational music. What?
One quick thing, if you're interested in storytelling, a great opportunity to hear from somebody who majors in storytelling is October 27th, our event that we have going on, the Women's Summit. So if you are not scheduled to go to that, make sure that you get it on your calendar and get a ticket, because there's only a few left. But Jen Lederer will be there speaking all about storytelling.
And she's great at it. She does tell her story with comedic flair. So let's get to some motivational music, and then I got 2 more questions for you today, Mr. Nudelberg.
he just gets after it. I mean he's an all-timer for sure.
Listen to the words of the song. Very impactful, man. The words are telling a story. So I love all that. Lenny kicks some ass. Yes, he does. So I want to finish. I want to take the rest of the show to talk about this concept, and our other storyteller, Seth Godin, who does a great job, tells a story in words every single morning. Sparks the brain, makes me think. Some I really resonate with, some I don't. The other day he did one called All In. And he goes, without reservations. He goes, I'm not sure we have a common word for what this really means. Yes, I'm all in can mean, yes, I'm prepared to do the minimum. We've had that conversation, right? The other part of it is, yes, I'll do anything it takes to, so I heard this all throughout the weekend about our guys are all in. What does all in mean to you?
Yeah, all in to me, all in does not mean I'm willing to do the bare minimum. All in means I'm willing to do whatever it takes. It means emptying the tank. It means what we saw Dustin Hopkins do last night with a torn hamstring, go out there time after time. And in his post-game interview last night, he talked about, he said, they were like, well, do you think, did it matter the distance of the field goal at the end of the game? And he was like, no, I didn't think about the distance. He goes, if it was going to hurt from 20, what's the difference if it's 50 or 30 or 40? If it's going to hurt, it's going to hurt. And I'm going to go out there and do what I can to ensure that I make it, that I'm successful. And so to me, that embodies all in. That means it doesn't matter what the road looks like. It doesn't matter the difficulty. I'm in the boat with the crew, with the group, with the organization. I'm bought into the overall purpose. I'm bought into what I do. And, I put part of this in my presentation for Sistel at the end of the week, is finding passion in your purpose or purpose in your passion. Either way, that's all in. I'm willing to do whatever it takes as long as I know what I got to do.
So, wow. Okay. So what if you don't know what all in is? I had this conversation with Jesse Itzler when we were in Nashville. And I said, he's famous for talking about how people under index themselves. They don't know what all in is. They feel the first hint of pain. And it's like, oh, I'm done. When he was running, he had a guy running next to him going, you could do this. This is great. Come on, let's go. All of a sudden you got over that hump and you're in another gear, another level. You left that pain behind. How do you get, or how do you know about what all in is?
You have to fight through adversity. It's the only way. You have to feel it. You've got to be in that moment of, I'm not really sure I can do anymore, but quitting's not an option because of my commitment to others, my commitment to myself, my commitment to the organization. And if quitting's not an option, then you figure out what else you can do and how much farther you can go. Now, I want to be clear. That doesn't mean it's going to be successful, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of people that I've committed to being all in with. And once you are all in and you exhaust that opportunity, it might not work. It's possible that it's not successful or that you have to go in a different direction. But that doesn't mean I wasn't all in from the start and that I wasn't doing everything I could do to make that thing or help make that thing successful.
So in my experience, and this is where I bring just my personal view of this, the pain of the moment will go away. The pain of quitting is forever.
Sure.
Oh, if you know that, like, how much can I endure? Can I take this uncomfortableness, this right now? And it's not in sports. It's not necessarily in running. Like, I think David Goggins runs 100 miles an hour and his feet are bleeding and I don't get it. Sure. Good for you. Fantastic. You push your body to a place of exhaustion. Maybe that works. I think it's more practical to look at real life stuff and say, what am I willing to do to get there? Because, and I've said this all along, when you figure out what you're willing to give up, that's when you can have anything you want.
And the inverse of that is then you know that it's like that. To me was the moment when I sat down and said, I'm not willing to sacrifice what I know I need to sacrifice in order to continue on in this role with this organization. I'm out. I'm no longer all in, and I'm not doing you a service. I'm not doing me a service. I'm not doing anybody a service because I'm no longer all in. So to me, like Josh says, going all in equals putting your all out on the table. Sure, I think very simply defined, it means knowing what you need to sacrifice and having the willingness to sacrifice it in order to do what's necessary or do what's required. In order to make that possible, you got to have that known, though, right? Like there's a lot of people who get into coaching, don't really know what the sacrifice is. They don't know the time commitment. They don't know the politics of it. They don't know the demand of the relationship and the player and the coach. They think it's all football all the time. They don't know. And once you find out, then you got to make the decision, am I willing to be all in on this? Because if you're looking to be successful, I don't think you can not be, you can hold back and still find success. You got to be all in.
Absolutely 1000% agree. And we've talked about this in some of the strategic partnerships that we've developed. You got to view yourself in the bunker. Who do you want to be next to? You want to be next to someone who's half-assing it or talking about the great resignation or quiet quitting or any of this other kind of bullshit that they're talking about? Or you want someone who, like in the Marines, the thing is, I will cover your ass before I cover my own ass. Wow, man. You know, you talk about Navy SEALs, man, getting after it. So, you know, when you approach your life, the only thing you can control is your input. You can control that. That is on you. That is a big responsibility. And I don't care all the coaching. Like people say, oh, we're so excited. You're a motivational speaker. You're going to come motivate us. And I go, don't count on me. If you can't be motivated, and I can't motivate you if you don't want to be motivated. So,
yep.
This whole dialogue.
I mean, there was, so all in was a term for us at the University of Florida in 2015. It was the team motto. And after every team meeting on a Friday night, everybody was required to take a chip and put it into the bucket. And that was supposed to signify you being all in. Hey, I'm putting my chip in the bucket with everybody else. The thing that doesn't work about that is that it's got to be here. You can put the chip in the bucket, but in your mind, you're going, yeah, I'm not. They asked me to go block the inside linebacker. I'm not really going to go do that. Or, you know, I'm not willing to push myself in the fourth quarter. So in culture or in teams, how do you create that all in as a unit? It's by watching what people do and continuously celebrating that behavior that embodies it and pointing out the stuff that isn't and not tolerating it. People think that like, oh, we can be all in together and it's about clapping our hands before every meeting and it's about showing up and doing these team events. Bullshit. All in is a day in, day out celebration of that behavior and the pointing out of this is what not all in looks like. And it won't be tolerated here. And we're going to continue to push you to be all in order to fit into this culture.
The highest performing cultures are the ones that have those tough conversations. Like, hey, dude, what the fuck, man? You're off your game, man. What's up? What can we do, you know, to get you back in the game? Those are really hard, but you find the highest functioning ones pull people out of the quicksand, don't get pulled in. And I love that quicksand thing. I talk about it all the time. People that are stuck in quicksand, they want to pull you in with them. That's not all in, maybe. That's all out.
Right.
So I will see you from Atlanta tomorrow. Thank you all for switching over to YouTube. We had really high numbers on YouTube. Please subscribe.
Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the comment, push people to it. Let's go. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.